Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Patrons video today that I'm making for GammerBoy as part of their custom monthly music review. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen from an act named HITORIE titled Senseless Wonder. So we're going to listen through it from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Interesting line on the right side with guitar and now on the left. The drum is incredible, man. The percussion is insane. It's just so much so far. I love how tight the band is. It's an incredible first impression of that work. So I think this is some of the earlier material, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the freneticism of it is astounding. It's such a sizzly tone as well. Oh, the bassist is using a pick, I think. I mean, like, it's just incredible, really. I think I'm going to look for lyrics for this. I don't have lyrics for it currently, but I might, just because I really want to understand what this track is about. And I think that if HITORIE are going to put... HITORIE? Hopefully I've not got that wrong, but if they're going to put this much effort into making a song this entertaining to listen to, the least I can do is figure out what it's about. I mean, the falsettos are really elegant. I mean, it's tremendous control on the kit, on the drums, for those rolls. I mean, like, and just straight into it, right? I mean, I'm really confident with that theme, to be fair. And a really interesting chord to end on. It like kind of leaves things a little bit sort of tonally undecided, doesn't it? That bow. Well done. And thank you to GammerBoy for sending this through as part of the Patreon review for this month. I am glad I had the opportunity to listen to it. So we found lyrics, I believe, for this song. I'm hoping that they're well translated, but we'll see how we go. So I'm an irregular, this pride has bloomed inside of me. I want to fall in love, the fact that I want to fall in love, don't let them find out, don't let them find it. I like how we have these conversations like you're crying in a voice that sounds like it needs to do something to rely on, right? You can't be helped, there's nothing we can do. I hate that about myself. It's interesting that he's having a conversation with himself in this situation. So I've been looking through this track for a little while, and I think that this song is about someone who is kind of trying to figure out who they are inside. So they're doing some introspection and trying to figure out whether they want to love, whether they don't want to love, kind of looking at like a different world or something like that, the different possibilities that can come from choosing either choice. They're looking at maybe taking a different road or something like that. Don't let it be found out, don't let them find out. So maybe we're looking at needing to hide that part of ourselves that we're not sure about. We're like kind of giving ourselves a hard time because we're unable to hide it. Okay, I think I get it, but I also don't think I have, so we'll try our best. And welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named HITORIE titled Senseless Wonder. Now, what do I think this track is about? I had a go at it in the lyrics section, but I'm not really sure if I'm honest. I think that it's about someone who is basically they're stuck between two different perspectives or two different positions. There's something inside of them they feel very naturally and primal way, should I say. And it's something that they're not really sure whether they want to sort of share with the world or not. Maybe they want to play things safe and not let anybody know who they are, you know. But then there's another like part of them which is like, no, I want to do this, I want to be in this other world. I don't know if I want to fall in love, I do want to fall in love, etc. I think this is maybe just about inner conflict, cognitive dissonance, trying to sort of like establish what you really want, your own motives and stuff like that are in life. And sort of like the wonder of being able to have those conversations at all. I could be wrong. Please let me know in the comments how close or how far off I am. I'd like to know genuinely. It seems like some really engaging, interesting stuff, and I mean it genuinely. The vocal style from the singer is incredibly charismatic. We're comfortable with our head and chest voice, and we've got some really compelling melodies that we're singing that harmonize well with the rest of the elements within the mix and the arrangement. I don't really think we needed more vocals than just the solo part in the center of the stereo field, and I think it's a great idea that we kept things relatively simple in that respect. It's nice to have a lead be that competent, especially with how vigorous everything else was with the speed that we're playing at, the high tempo, etc. The sense of exasperation from the performance makes sense with the high energy element of it and adds a sense of freneticism to it that I think is appropriate considering some of the questions we're asking ourselves in the lyrics. All in all, things seem very appropriate with the way they're kind of stacked and styled and strung together, so I think there's a nice connection between the vocals and the story, and that's well done. The track itself, at roughly 4 minutes 15 or something like that, is a great use of time. It's got several different verse and chorus sections with a really engaging theme that is comprised of basically guitar tracks, bass, and drums. Now you might be thinking, wow, that's pretty kind of like, that's the traditional sort of scenario you've got, right? Lacking keys or something like that. But what I think is so incredibly interesting about this is how they use the various instruments. I think that there's a lot of range and technicality to the performance, and each of the people involved here, whether they are playing the strings or, you know, the bass or whatever, are making the most of the capacity of their various roles. For example, if we go right back to the start of the track with a da 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 da, that really interesting lead motif that we had there on one side of the stereo field, with the other guitar eventually coming on the other, with the bass and drums following afterwards with a really incredible control on the sticks from the drummer. And the bassist, you know, like they had that low to sub range absolutely handled. But if we go through the individual instruments, well, we'll continue with the guitar. I think that the combination of kind of dirty bar chords there with some interesting arpeggiated techniques there, some lead riffs, motifs kind of strung over top of the lead or the vocals, or like kind of doing a call and response with them or taking over occasionally. It was great. I don't think this track needed a dedicated lead solo because there was enough going on there with the coloration, the wide variety of different techniques and stuff like that going on. I think it would have overcomplicated the composition to have had additional kind of lead elements, but I think that is a compliment because they knew exactly when to kind of like limit the amount of craziness going on there. It was already a really fast track with some interesting choices there with the different progressions and different sort of bass lines and stuff like that, the way the notes and chords moved between each other. So they didn't want to over-egg the pudding, and I got to admire that. I think the two guitarists, if I'm not mistaken, one with the singer and the other kind of helping out with the leads, they had a great chemistry together and they filled out the stereo field really well and never argued with one another, found niches for their own stuff, and I've got respect for that too. Bass guitarist explored the fretboard a little bit, was comfortable in that low sub range, and just was a really important part of the piece, which kind of almost cemented things a little bit with the kind of zaniness of the different drum grooves, fills, patterns on the kit, because the drummer was absolutely just mind-blowing. But the bassist, I think they were pocketing a little bit, kept a relative sense of minimalism with the note choices, and basically just kept it as a driving force. There was a lot of force and expression behind that, and it managed to sort of like keep up the charisma and energy of the rest of the band incredibly well. The other drums, man, they were just sensational. In complete exploration of the drum kit there with a mixture of different snare tom parts with lots of interesting hi-hat and ride grooves there, even raining on the bell occasionally. We did sort of simplify things and bring it down, but other times we sort of like slammed it back up again. It was, especially in those like offbeat hi-hats and like the chorus section, it was just wild, man. It was such a crazy, inspired combination of different tones and chops that just really kind of put you in a mood of dancing, getting up and getting vibrant with it, but also I think encapsulated the process that the storyteller was going through. So I think that there was a nice connection there between what the music was doing, how the instruments were being played, and how the vocals were being done too. I think to continue on that front, if we look at the theme itself, I think that the whistling guitar lines and the leads there, the manic nature of some of those fills and the speed of it, the sheer tenacity of it, with the color and occasional chromaticism, the complexity of the chord progressions and overall harmony, they're relative to the few parts we had there, the unreserved and mildly uncomfortable way we finished there on a nice chord, but with a lack of tonal resolution at the end. It just kind of makes me feel as if this track is, the motif is telling us that we are still not where we need to be or where we are capable of being with our own sort of thought processes, and we are in a space where things are left unresolved overall. And so I think that when you consider the story with that motif, it makes sense, and this is another reason why the song works incredibly well. To write a song and make it work in a way that is beneficial for the listener as well as for the writer, you need to be able to make yourself a song that has everything kind of joining the dots. If there is one element of a track which doesn't sound like it fits with the rest, most listeners will be able to recognize that even if they can't really describe why that is. A lot of people will just say, I don't know why, but something feels a bit off. And that's often because there is something. Most well-written tracks are universally loved because of the fact they tick all those boxes. At the very least, it'll be inoffensive, and that's a hell of a lot better than being grotesque. In the sense that I think this track is beautiful in the way that it is vivacious and just so kind of balls to the wall, and I got to give them love for that. Finally, the studio recording, mixing and mastering. I thought they did a sensational job of approaching this track here in a way that was very authentic and engaging and captivating, with the performance being nice and tight without a note out of place. But also, it's just simply the fact that with that performance that tight, they just recorded really well. The vocals, guitars, bass, drums came through nice and neatly in the mix, with the guitars being double-tracked, the drums being nice and punchy whilst having enough room, and just great tones on the different drums as well. Like the snares sounded spectacular. Things were niched and notched nice and neatly. And I think that, you know, there was dynamic range in this, so things weren't squeezed too much. The bass was responding well with the guitars and everything like that. You know, we had no arguing between elements, but it was also nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled. And I like the fact that the vocal performance was relatively raw. It wasn't overproduced. They let him sing. they let him shout out. It was all we needed. And that's basically my SP Patrons review of this track from the act named HITORIE titled Senseless Wonder, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show us some love via the various social medias and YouTube page, and stay cool, stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SP Patrons review. Spiderhands out.